Nate, could you make it clap for me?
Hi, I'm Nate.
Oh, no.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm Nate.
I'm Marsya.
And we're reviewing
The best movie ever.
Into the Spider-Verse. Spider-Man. : Rearrange that. It's really good. Directed by multiple people? It's directed by like
three
two
guys.
Yeah, it's like 3 directors. Did you hear my Andy Warhol comment from out there? I said he did it first. Do you guys not know? Felt real good about it. This movie slaps.
Yeah, going with that term, it is an amazing movie. I think that it's probably one of the best movies of the year, if not one of the best of all time. Yeah.
It's a bold claim, but like, I mean, certainly of animation, it's like one of the best anime movies ever made.
I think that can definitely be factually backed up. It is one of the best animated movies ever.
You okay?
How would you factually back that up?
Spectacular.
It is, the one word I would say, it's love. It is love in itself.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like a philosopher, like, sex talk. Factually.
Freud.
Yeah. Logically back that shit up for me. Miles Morales becomes Spider-Man. You're like shaming my mannerisms right now.
How dare you?
This
is America. We don't shame anyone ever in this country.
I'm just telling you.
A Spider-Man movie that gets everything right about what it means to be Spider-Man.
I'm glad that my comedy is awesome. Hey guys, it's me, Peter Parker. You know me, I'm Spider-Man, and I've been Spider-Man in New York for ever. The one and only. Cut to Miles Morales.
Who is your Afro-Latino usual kid living in Brooklyn.
And then his mom is like, Miles, but in Spanish. So she's like, I don't know Spanish, but she's like, Miles, you gotta go. Yeah.
Pretty sure his name is still Miles in Spanish.
Well, and so his dad takes him to school in a police car, and then he gets out of the car and he's like, says, I love you. Anyway, not an important point, but his dad takes him to school.
It is so important.
No, but we can get to that later. Okay, his dad is like, I love you. Miles doesn't say it, and then his dad stops and he's like, you gotta say it back, like over the intercom, and like in front of like a bunch of kids.
You gotta say I love you back.
Dad, are you serious?
I wanna hear it.
Look at this place.
Dad, I love you.
Dad, I love you.
And he's like, that's a copy.
Yeah, and then Dad's like, yo, let's go, I'm a cop. And so he's in this universe, he's not like a genius like Peter is. He just won like some random thing that like lets him go to this really special school.
It's called affirmative action. He hangs out with his uncle, who is played by Mahershala Ali, who I haven't gone to the mosque in so long. But if he was like, do you want to go to the mosque with me? I would, because I love him. He's a great actor. He voices the uncle, and so the uncle like teaches him how to be smooth with the ladies. Doesn't work.
His Uncle Aaron's like, yo, let's go tag this place up. And Miles is like, all right. And then they climb a fence. And Miles sucks at climbing a fence. And then they tag this place up, and Miles gets bit by a spider. It's like all glitching out, and it bites him, and it's a pretty funny comedic moment because you think it's like such building,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
and then it bites him, and he just goes, and like kills it.
And then like there's like a long overdrawn scene where he looks at his dick and he was like, oh my god, is this puberty? And then he like reads like comic books about he looked at his dick in one of the scenes. Like that, I remember. I don't know why I remember this so well, but there is a shot. The camera is looking up at him, looking into his pants.
That's true? Gwen.
Yeah.
So he does the hey thing to Gwen, but his hands are all sticky, not from spider webs.
Okay.
And so he can't let go of her, and she's like, yo, you gotta like just let go of me. And he can't, and he ends up like ripping, like they have to go to the nurse's house.
Love it.
And then he's like, something weird is happening.
Dick, and he's like, oh shit.
Yeah, the spider dick got 8 legs.
He's like, oh my god, something's happening to me. And then he reenacts everything that happened to Peter Parker in his universe. Like in this universe, there are comic books about Peter Parker. Like everyone knows, like there's like a mythos about like Peter Parker. So he realizes, he's like, oh shit, that I have become Spider-Man. And so like he does that and he freaks out and he decides to do more investigation about it, and then he goes back to where he did graffiti with his uncle, and then there he gets into this, he sees this fight between Kingpin and Spider-Man.
Is like creating an interdimensional thing to get his wife and kids back. He's like, oh no, I killed my wife and kids because I'm a criminal and I didn't mean for that to happen, but it did.
And I need a good backstory to make people sympathize with me.
Yeah. The Spider-Man from this universe, from Miles' universe, Peter Parker, Golden Boy, literally he has blonde hair, is...
And he's voiced by Chris Pine, who is the ultimate Golden Boy.
And so he's fighting Goblin. Goblin is like, they're each other. And they're fighting.
I've seen something like that before.
Peter's throwing out quips, we love it. They're doing spider stuff. And Miles is like,
he falls, Peter Parker saves him, and Peter Parker's like, oh my god, I can mentor you one day.
Kingpin opens up the interdimensional thing, and Spider-Man gets like blown off on the side, and he's like really injured, like crushed by a thing, and Miles is like looking at it, and then Kingpin murders Peter Parker. Like he just goes up to him and he's like, you can't do this, you don't know what's happening, and Peter Parker dies. And let me tell you, Miles is like now traumatized, and he's like, I could have done something, like, why didn't I do anything? Oh yeah, Peter is like, hey, here's a flash drive, and Miles is like, okay, and he takes it and it will stop the machine. I was like, what?
No, it's very important. I remember, but I cried about it. And there's Peter Parker has like a funeral, and then Mary Jane Parker, voiced by Zoe Kravitz, who also should take me back to the mosque because she is beautiful and amazing. She gives a beautiful speech about how like anybody can be Spider-Man.
Peter Parker shows up, he's like, I don't want to teach you how to be Spider-Man. Miles is like, you gotta, because I've got things to do. And then he's like, okay, fine, I'll do it, but only for cheeseburgers and money, because I'm in this universe and I don't know what's happening, and my wife left me. He reluctantly trains him, but then he's like, oh my god, I actually like training you. And it turns out that the scientist who made the thing is Doc Ock's daughter.
Yeah.
And supervillains are doing stuff, and then more spider people show up. So you got Noir Spider-Man, who's voiced by none other than Hugh Laurie. Love him, House. Great show. And he's like really like emo. He's like, yeah, Noir Spider-Man is voiced by Hugh Laurie.
Is that... Are you f***ing me?
No, I'm not you. It's literally voiced by Hugh Laurie.
It is not. It's by the guy from National Treasure.
No. Oh shit, you're right. Noir Spider guy, he's like really depressed about everything. Then you have anime spider robot girl.
Penny Parker.
Yeah, Penny Parker. She's quite as. And then you have Gwen. You have Gwen.
You have Gwen Stacy, and then you have Penny Parker, and then you have Spider-Man Noir, and then you have Spider-Man Porker.
But that's it? You only have the four?
Yeah, just the four.
Peter Porker, who is hilarious.
They're all fantastic, and then they all team up. And they all know their job. They know what to do. But Miles doesn't know what he's doing. He's new, He's a fresh boy.
Nate, go ahead. Don't worry about it.
If they all go back to their universes, they'll all live. But if any of them stay in Miles' universe, they'll die. Mm-hmm. And so sad Peter Parker is like, I'm gonna stay because Mary Jane doesn't love me and my life sucks.
Oh my god! So yeah, at May's house, like Miles, so he's fucking up throughout the entire film, like because he's new, so he accidentally leads all the supervillains to like Aunt May's house, and then they get into a huge fight, and then he realizes that one of the villains that he was fighting is actually his uncle.
Shit gets up, and Miles, like as Prowler's about to kill him, Miles takes off his mask, and he's like, and then Prowler's like, oh shit, like Miles, like no, like you can't be doing this, and Fisk shoots Prowler. And Prowler dies, and you're like, oh shit, there's the uncle death in this movie.
Miles pulls his body away, and then his dad, who is voiced by Brian Tyree Henry, who another guy who should take me back to the mosque.
Whoever built these tracks that we're like severely off of right now did a very poor job. And then Peter's like, you're not ready, and he's like, when will I know? And then he's like, it's a leap of faith. And then he gets
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. He gets a pep talk from his dad, but like he doesn't respond. It's like through a door at like his dorm.
He was also tied up.
Yeah. He electrocutes the webs that Peter put on him. He's like, I am ready. They stop Fisk in a sick ass goddamn like end sequence, and he becomes Spider-Man, and they all go back to the universes, and it's happily ever after.
Have you guys done it?
Nate, tell me.
I can neither confirm nor deny that.
Yeah.
I like this movie because it's showing a different Spider-Man than we've seen, but primarily I like this movie because the animation is so goddamn good. Like, it's unbelievable. It should make every other animation studio, like, look at this and be like, shit, what are we doing? Like, we need to change what we're doing. I don't know why we're talking about Naruto.
I remember being 16 years old, and then the first, like, I think comic issue of Miles Morales came out, and it blew my mind. As an angsty 16-year-old, I was like, oh my god, this is fantastic. And it does justice to Miles Morales as a character. For people who aren't fans, who didn't grow up, like, reading Miles Morales, like, it does a great job of introducing him. And it just makes the whole, like, Spider-Man, like world, like, so fresh. And the animation, as Nate said, is amazing. Like, this is about Miles. Yes, there's a ton of other spider people out there, but this movie is about Miles, and it celebrates what it means for Miles and, like, what he is, and it's just so beautiful.
The best scene in this movie, and one of the best animated scenes, full stop, ever made, is when Miles becomes Spider-Man. Through the dorm room door, and Miles is, like, trapped by Peter's, like, webs or whatever, and he's like, and he reels himself to the door, and his dad's like, you don't have to talk to me, but, like, your uncle's dead, and, like, I know that this whole school change has been really hard for you, and, like, but the reason why we're pushing you so hard is because we believe in you. Like, we believe that you can be something better than we are. And when he hears that, he's like, shit, like, what Peter said, this jaded Peter, because that's what Peter B. Parker is in this movie. He's jaded. He's tired of being Spider-Man. Like, he saves people over and over again, and nobody gives a shit. Miles is like, shit, like, it is just a leap of faith. Like, I need to believe in myself, and he does. And then you get this music that is perfectly matched with this animation.
Yeah, well, the movie has one of the best, like, Stan Lee, like, cameos ever, which I thought was fantastic. So, like, Miles is, like, this was literally after, I think, Miles sees, like, the funeral for Peter Parker, because the Peter Parker in his universe is dead, and he was like, oh shit, I have to become Spider-Man. So he goes to, like, this, like, gift store, and then, like, I think he's, like, looking for, like, a Spider-Man suit. And then, like, you know, it's like, oh, it's funny. He's like, oh my god, I guess I'll just be Spider-Man. So he gets, like, this, like, weak-ass, like, ugly-looking cheap suit, and then he brings it to the counter, and then Stan Lee is right there. And Stan Lee was like, I need Spider-Man, you know? He and I were friends a long time ago. And then, like, you in the audience, I was in the audience just crying. I was like, oh my god, Stan Lee, you're here, you're alive.
Miles says, when he buys, he says, what if it doesn't fit?
Oh yeah, and then
Stanley says,
like, it all fits. It always fits eventually. And then tears, panties drop, tears. Like, your brain just goes insane because it's a beautiful line. And then the camera pans to, like, a sign that says no refunds. Yeah. And it's a beautiful, funny scene that makes you cry.
So do you think it was inevitable that he had to die? Like, do you think that this kind of time scale works in a way where, like, the two Spider-Men can't exist at the same time?
Theoretically, yes. I think that there can only be one Spider-Man, which wow. Asking this almost goes against sort of, like, the theme of the movie, which is, like, anybody can be Spider-Man. That's the whole point. Is that, like, anybody can be Spider-Man, but, like, there can only be one Spider-Man at a time.
I think it works. Anyone can be Spider-Man, but you can be the only Spider-Man.
But it's like there are all these different Spider-Men, but within their respective universe, there's only one. I don't even know how that would work. Like, would they team up? Like, is it like Spider-Man Avengers type thing? Like, in the way that Peter Parker feels responsible for Uncle Ben's death, right? Miles Morales feels responsible for Spider-Man's death. Like, throughout this entire movie, he feels responsible for Spider-Man's death because he knows that he could do something. He could have, like, shouted, like, done a distraction, anything to, like, give Peter time, but instead he sat there quietly and was a coward.
I guess the theoretical argument that I'm posing is that since there can only be one Spider-Man, as soon as Miles was bitten, he doomed Peter to die.
No, I would agree, yeah. Because, like, Spider-Man wouldn't be able to exist if there were other Spider-Man. Because the whole allure of Spider-Man is that it could be anybody, right? Like, he's not, like, born into, like, a rich family or, like, into royalty like T'Challa or, like, Batman. Like, this is just some random kid who got bitten by a spider, and he has to deal with the responsibility. Like, all of the spider people in this entire universe lost somebody, right? Mm-hmm. And so for, like, Miles Morales in this universe, he lost Peter Parker and he lost his uncle. Like there's that whole thing, like they like the whole like allure of Spider-Man is that he is a lone guy trying to save the world, right? So yeah, I definitely agree that like Miles getting bitten doomed like the Peter Parker of his universe.
Those two gaps.
So we're
of,
talking
like,
about daddies now.
And so like he loses his uncle, which is like another motivation for him to become Peter Parker. Like that's what, or to become Spider-Man. That's what turns it into Spider-Man, because his father talks about how his uncle died, and he's like, they all believe in Miles, basically. But I think that it was thematically more relevant for Peter Parker to die, and that's his motivation to become Spider-Man, because the end of the movie is literally a monologue from Miles saying that like anybody can wear the mask. Like that's the point, is that like I'm Spider-Man right now, but like somebody could be Spider-Man in the future, and there was a different Spider-Man in the past. He could have believed that if only Spider-Man died, because like we all should believe that when Spider-Man died. Like Spider-Man is a symbol. Batman is more than just Batman. He's a symbol of like hope and justice, and Spider-Man is
And
the same
classism.
Well, yeah. And like when his uncle dies, it's just like, okay, like it's giving me a sort of cop-out thing. Like now he's like, oh well, now I have to be Spider-Man because my uncle died.
Interesting. I didn't really see it that way. I just feel like the uncle thing just like really brought the whole like cycle of like you losing an important family member to become the actual Spider-Man, because you know with great power comes great responsibility, blah blah blah. And then he was like, okay, Peter Parker's dead, and he was like, I have to be Spider-Man now. That is a responsibility in and of itself. But like his uncle dying really just like brings it to home to him that he was like, like I have to be Spider-Man. So that's just what I think. I mean, I think it makes sense what you're saying.
I think the only reason why it's in there is because I think it's a good twist.
Because it's not in the comics. If anyone read the comics, I don't think Uncle Aaron dies in the comics that quickly.
What does Spider-Man mean to you?
Wow, that's a beautiful question. Like, I mean, like, I grew up, like, reading Spider-Man, and the reason why Spider-Man's always resonated with me, because I think I've said it before, that, like, Spider-Man could be anybody. Anybody could be bitten by a spider. He's just an average kid who grew up in Queens who got bitten by a spider. And I think this movie just really hits it home, because they keep saying it in the movie. Like, anyone can wear the mask. Anyone can be Spider-Man. You can be an anime girl. You can be like Gwen Stacy, who dies in so many, like, in the, like, so-called main canon of, like, the Spider-Man like world, or you know you can be like a pig and you can be Spider-Man. I think the beauty of the Spider-Man like mythos and like the beauty of Spider-Man is that it can be anybody, which like really resonated with me.
I love Peter Parker. Spider-Man is just very relatable. Like, and I mean that not like a facetious way, but like Spider-Man is like a super relatable superhero. Like he's a kid, right? Like he wants to do the right thing, but like he doesn't really know how to do it all the time. Up. And also he's funny.
Like I grew up with barely any like anyone who looks like me as a superhero, but Spider-Man, I feel like with this movie especially, like the whole point of anyone can put on the mask, and literally like in the movie anyone can put on the mask and be Spider-Man. And I never had that representation growing up, but when I was 16 reading about Miles Morales, an Afro-Latino kid who we never see that, and I was like, this gives me faith that one day I could see someone like me being a superhero. God,
All right.
I like Peter Parker because he's white and cis.
It is a 9.8 out of 10 Post Malone's.
No, we're not. No.
Fine. 9.8 out of 10 9.8 out of 10 comic books. It's very good. It is so good. If you haven't seen it, please watch it.
If you guys want to follow me on my Letterboxd.
Oh my god.
I gave it a 5 out of 5. So 10 out of 10. It honestly is like a.
Can I get a hashtag perfect film?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It's a 10 thwips out of it's a 10 thwips out of 10.
10 what? How do you spell that?
Thwip, THWIP. Thwip.
Let me flip that F.
Thwip.
But seriously, please watch it. I'm so mad that you two haven't seen it yet. You guys need to see. You guys need to support the industry.
Miles Morales.
Cheers to Spider-Man PS4 DLC.
Yes. If you want to see more of me, click right here on my titties.
If you want to see more of me, click in this box.
Like and subscribe to this channel, Grozny Productions, because if you don't, I'm gonna lose it. Like, I'm actually gonna
And you know what happens when a white man loses it in this country?